I see the birds up in the tree. You know that I just wanna be free. I see the clouds up in the sky. You know that I just wanna fly high. Oh, small side, I know where you live. And small child, I know what you give to me.
Me growing up, didn't know, I knew very little about my Aboriginal history and heritage and where I've come from, and our own, my ancestors and stuff. I don't really know much about that.
Since I was little, I used to speak Pinjara, in my language, to most of the families, but until now, I've disconnected from my language, and I've got to reconnect back to my language and culture. So.
I grew up on the York Peninsula in Maitland. I grew up with my nan since I was 2 years old, and I've been here on the Narungga land.
My foster mother and my foster father at the time were saying, we need to protect him, we need to, bring him up the way that we want him to be brought up. He might not want to know that, he might want to, he might not, so we don't want to take the risk.
Well, I've been in care for 3.5 years and I've been into 26 homes. I came into care because my mum, she wasn't able to look after me, so at the start I didn't want to go back, and then now I've realised I wanted to go back because I've just been away for her too much.
I do recall this, couple of situations where I was being racially abused and stuff like that, and I think as a result of that I sort of shunned away from learning about Aboriginal culture and stuff like that.
We had to move into a private school, and it was a lot of people, and because we're actually used to Aboriginal people hanging out with us and stuff, but we got to get used to hanging out with some non-Aboriginal people, because in the whole school there's only 4 Aboriginals.
Back at Unity College, we used to get taught about Aboriginal sort of things, Aboriginal culture, and we used to do dot paintings and painting classes and stuff like that, and that's where I would learn about it, because I wouldn't learn it anywhere. I couldn't learn it anywhere else.
Every assembly they get one of the kids, non-Aboriginal or Aboriginals, to say the reconciliation stuff of acknowledging Aboriginal people and all that. So
I'm the only Aboriginal in my class, and in our corridor wing from year 7 to year 12 there's only about 5 of us, and in reception there's about 20 little kids. There's heaps of Aboriginals in the little wing, and in NAIDOC week we make anything to do with Aboriginal stuff, so a boomerang, or we do an Aboriginal flag, and we go down the street and we show it off to everybody. The whole school does it.
Well, there's a SASA group. My care group teacher, Mr. Coulthard, he runs that, so he's an Aboriginal teacher too, and there's 5 guys that go to the school too, and then there's other kids from other schools, so they come into my school, and then they come up together and do PE. So SASA's all about sport and getting out there and your fitness and your health and stuff like that.
Basically we train for the Power Cup and SASA Shield, But there's another sort of SASTA where you do the academy for football, AFL, to make it an AFL, and for netball, where you make it into Thunderbirds. This year I tried out for the academy for Thunderbirds because it's a new thing. And there was about 50 girls and only 15 of us made it in, and I was one of them. So at school, everybody in the second wing knows our lingo because I've taught everybody, because they always listen to me when I'm talking. And so now when I'm having a conversation with someone, I can't say stuff because they know what I'm saying. I feel really good because I know that I'm not left out, and I don't get looked at in a weird way because I talk my language. It makes me happy because everybody else joins in with me, and students are very respectful and they love Aboriginal people.
Being at Point Pearce and Camp Gura, it feels like at home because it's quiet, and if you just have your family there, it'll just make it even better. And I guess it's more peaceful because people that live up there kind of know what it is and who you are, and they know. But then when you're in other places, it's they don't know anything. It's really easy to talk to an Aboriginal person, but then when you come across a non-Aboriginal, it's yeah, we'll talk, but wouldn't have that flow with people that you already know.
You know, with my aunties and uncles, when I did go off and see them, that their behaviour was different compared to if I saw my foster's aunties and uncles. So, you know, I sort of would have to adapt to that. And I do remember one of my aunties giving this remark to me, you know, when I wasn't I don't know, being Aboriginal. She said, why aren't you being more like us and stuff like that? And I said, well, you know me, you know where I've come from and what I've been through.
I live with my nan and pop, but they're my actual uncle and auntie, but I call them nan and pop because I lived with them since I was 2 years old. And we built a shack down the point near Point Pearce Way, and it took us 7 years to build the shack. And everybody comes down the shack all around from Adelaide, wherever, come down to do the butterfish competition when it's on every year. And they come down for Easter and Christmas, and it's always packed and everybody shares. There's always white people, they come down and we don't mind them coming to our shack or whatever, having a drink, or we always go out on the boat for fishing, diving, we go motorbike riding, we just do everything down the shack. It's pretty cool. Family, I say, I get social workers. I've had 10 over the last year because they change their social workers all the time, and I don't really talk to them. I've only talked to them twice a year since I was in Families SA, since I was born. They don't really communicate, and I don't know what's happening. They don't share stuff. I don't have a cultural identity plan. I don't know anything. I only know that I'm Aboriginal and I'm Naranga, that's all. I don't have a cultural identity plan. I don't know what it is really. I reckon my social worker or Families SA could organise more community events and more programs for Aboriginal kids to go out, and like MAFES and AIM and school and other little programs that school does. It would be really good to get a social worker, someone that doesn't know anything, to learn, and then she will learn along the way too, because she just the person won't know too.
No, I got a little younger brother. He's 5. He's going to school this year, and I remember when he was about 2.5, almost 3, I reckon. He came up to me and he's like, "Royce, why is our skin colour different?" And when he said that, you know, I literally, I started laughing. I said, "Well, you know what, we're different, you know." And he was like, "How are we different?" And I said, "Well, I'm an Aboriginal and you're not." And he's like, "What does that mean?" and stuff like that. And I really didn't know what to say. I didn't know where to begin, and I think they have a right to know where they've come from and their cultural identity. I think the parents should, talk to the social worker, talk to the school, and just try and put in plans to, strengthen their knowledge about who they are as a person and Aboriginal as well, where they come from.
It's good to know like who you are, because then when like someday someone comes along and like asks you, oh yeah, who are you, and like if like Aboriginal woman says like, oh, where are you from and stuff like that, at least like you have a little bit of an idea what you're gonna say. It's like, oh, I don't know where I come from. It's like, oh, and if you're real old too, and you don't know what to say, and then like with me, I don't know what to say either. So like I have a bit of an idea, I just get stuck on what I'm gonna say. Yeah, I guess like if you think of it more and learn more of your culture and get people to take you out, family, mum and stuff like that, and go out to like at the outback and just learn more, and then when you have your own kids and just teach them and then keep the generation going.
Grow up and do something good, and like, people will see me, even non-Aboriginal people will see me as a good Aboriginal person doing something great, because that's what I want to do as an Aboriginal person.
Just don't forget like what kind of background you're from, and just be proud to be an Aboriginal, and just don't matter what people would say to you, just be proud.
Anybody listening to? Anybody listening to? Anybody listening?